Hello, everyone, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Better the Pond Pondcast, where we talk to amazing people doing incredible things that lead the charge of generosity. My name is Warren Berry, and I'm your host and founder of Instinctive Solutions, where we believe that everyone is an odd duck, but that's what makes them awesome. Now, today our guest is Dave Carroll. Now, Dave is an award-winning singer-songwriter, speaker, and author. With just a camera and a limited budget, Dave took on United Airlines single-handedly when they would not own up to their actions of breaking his Taylor guitar. United Breaks Guitars was the #1 watched video on YouTube in 2009. Since then, he's wrote the book United Breaks Guitars, The Power of One Voice in the Age of Social Media. He's speaking on stages around the globe about the power of storytelling. And his song, When the World Stops Ending, is a great story regarding the COVID pandemic. Filled with compassion, Dave continually does what he can to better the pond. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Carroll. Dave, I want to thank you ever so much for taking the time to be on my Better the Pond podcast. I'm so excited to have you here, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Warren. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I get to have an actual celebrity on my podcast. I mean, this is absolutely, this is like really exciting for me.
Why, somebody else coming on the show?
Yeah, I mean, international recording artists. I mean,
there you go.
The guy who created United Breaks Guitars. I mean, it was an absolutely incredible video that just went viral and launched a whole new way for customer service for people. So I'm honored, my friend.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So Dave, what got you from being a gosling, we're using the metaphor, to leaving the nest, to got you where you are today? What's your backstory, Dave?
So I was an aspiring singer-songwriter. I picked up a guitar when I was in college, and it was a $125 guitar. I taught myself how to play before the internet, and which is tricky because I didn't know there were chord books for songs and all that stuff. I really started from nothing. And my brother and I entered a talent contest, and we tied for first place, and they paid us money. And so we said, I guess we're professionals now. And that felt like a better thing than staying in the academic stream. I finished school, but I decided that I was a better singer-songwriter than I was a political scientist. And so I jumped in with both feet, and we started playing the pub circuit. We came to the East Coast from Ottawa in 1994 and set up in Halifax, and we've carved out a career for ourselves since the early 90s, playing music professionally, and it's been now 30 years. And our band Sons of Maxwell, named after our dad Max, is still an existent thing. But my brother's a full-time firefighter now. We both have families, and about 11 years ago, Don got hired on the fire department. I was in line to maybe get hired in the fire department. And I had my guitar broken the year before by United Airlines. And I wanted them to take some responsibility, and they wouldn't do it. So I, in my free time, while I was waiting to maybe be hired and doing some solo work, I picked away at this song to sort of bring out my frustration of the broken guitar. It was called United Breaks Guitars. And I had some friends in the music business help me make the first of the 3 songs in the trilogy that I promised the airline. And it went crazy. So social media was just a brand new thing. I had heard about this thing called YouTube, and that's what I promised United Airlines, the place where I would put this first of the trilogy on. And it got 1 million views in 4 days. And I had forecasted that I was going to try and get 1 million views with all 3 videos in 1 year. And I learned very quickly what a viral video was. And it turns out that $150 budget was enough to put some creativity into something that ended up becoming a worldwide media frenzy. And the number 1 most watched music video in the world for the month of July, and the number 6 most watched video of any kind in the world for the month of July in 2009. So that sent ripple effects around the world, because BBC News and The Economist announced that the video had dropped United Airlines stock by $180 million. And all of a sudden, businesses everywhere were realizing, wait a second, social media isn't just about a cat flushing a toilet. It's about empowering consumers, and they have a voice now. So companies that would have had millions of dollars to own the message still had that kind of budget to do their advertising, but guys like me had $150 and could be louder than they were if the message resonated and it was done right and you got lucky. And that's where I was. And it turned into a speaking career. So for the last over 10 years, I've been traveling to over 34 countries and sharing the message of United Breaks Guitars, the story, in the message and the insights. And the insights that I focus on now are storytelling as a craft and an art and a necessity if you're building a brand or care about your brand. And I also talk about compassion a whole lot now, about how businesses and personally we need to be compassionate, because that is how you build a brand today, by caring about other people.
Absolutely. So to all of my listeners, can you give me a little more of the backstory on, obviously United broke your guitar, and you went back to them to get some form of recourse. And how did they respond to that originally? That really drew you to say, look, I have to do something about this.
Yeah, so the guitar, it was March 31st, 2008 that we got on the plane, and we landed in Chicago. The guitar got broken, was seen thrown by baggage handlers. And it was my $3,500 Taylor guitar that I had bought when I didn't have that kind of dough. And I played it everywhere I could. So it was my favorite guitar. And when the airline didn't want to do anything to fix it, and so I promised them that I would do these videos, and it took about 9 months for the airline to finally say, you didn't open a claim within 24 hours, so we're not responsible for the damage. And that's where I said, oh yeah, well, I'm going to do something else. And my guitar was sitting beside me, and I looked at it and I thought, I'm going to write 3 songs and 3 videos. So I made the promise without really thinking about it. It was a knee-jerk reaction to them shutting down a conversation after 9 months of trying. And it took another 7 months for me to actually write the song. The song came out pretty quickly, but to write it, record it, and get the video done took another 7 months. So there's a long period of time for the song to change.
Wow. So they were not going to take any accountability for what had occurred.
Yeah, no, they didn't. And that's a problem. That was maybe in the old days, no one was ever listening to what people were saying. And I guess certain brands, a lot of big brands, they had a customer service department, but they could dig their heels in and just say, no, I'm sorry, we're not doing it. And I don't care how you feel. And I don't think that's ever been okay. But when United Breaks Guitars came out, that was maybe a forerunner to what was coming down the pipe, that you had to listen to your customers a little bit more now.
So did you have any experience with the whole social media platform at the time? It's that YouTube was, you heard of it. So what drove you to go into that whole social media market?
It was strictly economics. It was free, right? I didn't have any money to put behind it, or the desire to fund it. I mean, I was upset, but I wasn't going to throw $20,000 that's what we were used to spending on music videos. Mm-hmm. And then create a music video, and what would you do with it? The biggest challenge to indie bands back in the early 2000s or in the 90s was you could make a video, but who's going to play it? And now social media, YouTube was this thing, you could dump it there and who knows, anybody in the world could see it. And but typically the videos were really shaky, bad audio, very superficial and not very meaningful. But still I thought, I'm going to try and make the best sounding song I can. I put a lot of energy into the writing of it so that it was at a high standard. And the video quality was great because I had professionals in the industry who gave their time to it. So it was sort of top drawer all the way with a campy, low budge feel. Right?
Isn't that interesting, that you could take what used to be $20,000 and you hope it went out to, $150 a camera and some people, and you make this viral video. It's just amazing how things have changed.
Yeah, and when we were doing the music videos, everybody had to go to a certain standard. The broadcaster said it has to be this. I mean, you couldn't do a 5.5 minute video or certain lengths. It had to be within a certain constraints. And they had CMT would have been the station that would have played us back in the day. And so they had a certain tolerance for what kind of content they would play. And if you fall out of that, then you have no chance. And now you're sitting on a $20,000 video at the low end of that might never be seen.
Right.
So it was pretty transformative. When YouTube came along, there was a chance for everybody to get heard potentially, and that's where we are today, right?
Yeah.
Everybody can make cheap content, and it has the potential to be huge.
Yeah, to go global, absolutely. So you took me from when you learned to play. You got a guitar, you learned to play, and that's what I did too. Actually, I got a guitar way back before the internet. I went down to the local record store. I bought a chord book, and I listened to the radio, and that's how I learned how to play guitar. So I get that whole piece. Dave, can you take me back to being a Gosling? I would just get a little bit of your backstory back before all that. So you're out on the East Coast, and just sort of get me up to speed of kind of what as a kid, what was it like, and did you have a passion for music then, and as you grew up?
Yeah, so I'm actually not from the East Coast. I'm from Timmins, Ontario, and
Okay.
so that's where I was born in Schumacher, and and Schumacher are the same sort of thing now. But uh, my dad was a miner, and my mom worked as a secretary at a trucking company, and my brother Don and I just lived and hung out there. And so we come from a blue collar background, and our dad's was a great dad. That's why we named our band after him. And his policy as a dad was to bring music into our lives. And so he would bring his guitar into bed and sing with us when we shared a room. And he would sing songs like Buddy Holly, Peggy Sue, and other childhood classics like Tom Dooley, song about a guy cutting a woman's throat, right?
Right.
Just to put you to bed and get you in that nice frame of mind when you're a kid. But his policy was, if you don't know the music, you sing louder, and if you don't know the words, you play louder, and don't let what you don't know get you in the way of a good time. And so that was pretty fundamental, because we entered that first talent contest years later without any stage experience, and we actually learned 6 songs, all the words that day, sort of thing. So
Wow.
and that made all the difference. And Don and I didn't have any business being professionals for quite a while, but we just kept jumping in. And so we grew up in Timmins with a tight family. We still have a very tight nuclear family, and great place to be from in Timmins, where you learn about small town values and friendships and that sort of thing. And I think that's stayed with me anyway. All
Right.
these years.
So do you still have that same kind of philosophy in your life as, small town, keep it simple, be kind, be generous, be
Yeah,
compassionate?
yeah. I'm rooted in sort of the universal truths of things like family and caring about other people, and I think one of the things I really talk about a lot now, and I really believe in, is compassion as a fundamental core value. And I have a protocol I call 3D Compassionate Design, which has basically 3 tenets, and that is to love and respect yourself uh, first and foremost.
Hmm.
And I think if you remember the Maslow hierarchy of needs, the top is self-actualization, and right below that is self-love. And a lot of people have a hard time with that. You can be nice to other people, but you don't always respect yourself or appreciate yourself.
Right.
And so I put that message in my music quite a bit. And so the first tenet is to love and respect yourself. The second is to look for the individual in everyone you meet. So don't judge people by their cover or their skin color or by their religion or their gender, that sort of thing. Look for the individual. And then when you do that, look for yourself in that individual, because if you look hard enough, you will always find yourself in the person you're with. And if you love and respect yourself first, you will find something to love and respect in them as a basis to build a relationship. And if you brought that into your personal life or to your office life, your business, I think you would be better off than not doing that.
Well, that's fantastic. And, and I tell the listeners out there, I mean, I really pay attention to what Dave just said, because I think that's absolutely huge for moving forward. And especially in these times where where we have, I mean, COVID's very stressful and it's all going on. We have down in the States, we have Black Lives Matter going across the board. And I think that, yeah, by giving that message out of just, loving yourself first, but then within that, then you have the opportunity to love those people around you as well. So, fantastic message, Dave. Kudos. So, Dave, what have you done differently to stand out? What's made you you?
Good question. I think like in terms of music, which is, they say dance with the one that brung you there. So music has been a big part of my life for 30 years, and it's been the driver of everything I've done economically, I guess. And what stood out for Don and I is that when a lot of people were forming bands, we were a duo. We were one guitar and two voices, and we focused a lot on harmony, and we had the brotherly harmony thing. And so we sounded like 3 and 4 people sometimes, because we sang songs in a way that, because there wasn't a third part, we could take whatever part we wanted. We could do the harmony and then sing the lead, and our voices were close enough that it, just the way we approached it, sounded like 3 or 4 people sometimes. And so we were able to entertain people by our the small number of people on stage and make them think, wow, this is really something special. And we were also able to make it work on economies of scale ways. So we would divide everything by 2. Like crappy paychecks in 2 is better than crappy paychecks in 4. And so we were able to stay in the business and not have to get the cancer of every music career, which is the day job, and just stay in the game and consider music a full-time affair. And we were able to ride through some pretty tough times to get the good gigs, and the good gigs lead to other good gigs. And I think that helped us stand out, I think. And in terms of the songs I write, I try to, as we spoke about before we got started, to brighten the feed. And the cool music of any time is usually a little more avant-garde, a little bit more on the edge. And I'm a little bit more like John Denver, I think. I like a song with a good message that makes people feel better after they're done listening to it, not angry. And that's the way I want to feel. So I try to put that in my music. And I like to think that it's got some cool aspects to it, but I'm definitely not into focusing on negative stuff too much and bringing people down with my music.
Right. Yeah. Always try to bring people up. So in saying that, Dave, let's expand on this a little bit. I want to know, what's your superpower? What makes you awesome? And this isn't about bragging. This isn't about ego. This is about, what is it that part of you that you bring forward that makes a difference in the world?
I think probably, I say that everybody's superpower is storytelling. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about how to craft a story. I've been doing it as a songwriter for 30 years. And when I got thrust into the spotlight with the video and became a speaker, that was the way I naturally gravitated. So in all of my talks, they're very story-based. And I'll focus on things that have happened to me, or stories I've heard, or songs I've written about from things I've seen. And I do it right, it's effective, and it reaches people in the heart. So it comes from the heart, and I communicate at the heart level. And that gives me an advantage to the people that just try to give a data dump. They come in with their statistics and their graphs and their charts. And when people wake up, they can maybe take a picture of the graph and chart for later and never look at it again. But a story that draws people in and gets them in the heart and creates an emotional connection. If I can insert something that a chart or graph after I've got their attention with the story, it has so much more impact. And so the superpower I think I might have is the appreciation for what a story can do, and how important it is to focus on that, because that's what motivates other people.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've yet to see a chart or a graph motivate people. So
yeah.
So can you tell me about a time, Dave, in your life when someone did something for you that left an impact?
I've asked people this question too. It's kind of reminds me when people say, "What songs do you sing?" and you can never think of them. But I was a big. Here's a sports one. When I was in high school in grade 9, I developed a love of basketball in the summer of grade 8. So I went to a basketball camp, and it really changed my life, I think, because I found something that I might be good at, and if I could develop my skills. And I had a great coach in grade 9 who believed in me, and I was a pretty good shooter from the outside, and we were playing a game, and a championship game, and I was depended upon to do some stuff on, like, score some points and stuff. And I'd missed my first few shots, and I was getting really down on myself. And he called a timeout for me, to tell me, and everyone's huddled around. He says, "You're going to make the next shot." And And sure enough, I did. And I remember the feeling. It's like in slow motion. I can go back to what it felt like to shoot it and kind of know it was going to go in, but not be confident, and to see it go and make the swish sound. It just that was a pivotal moment. It was because somebody believed in me. His name's Al Scragg, and he was my midget coach. And basketball was a huge part of my high school after that, and that was a kind of a defining moment.
It isn't it interesting that how people cross your path in your life, where they may say one thing to you and it just leaves that mark forever. You
Yeah.
know, and it's just one short conversation, but it affects you that much that you'll never forget it.
Yep.
And I
As a musician with United Breaks Guitars introduced a lot of people to my music, and I have a song called "Now" that's written inspired by the book Eckhart Tolle's book called "The Power of Now." It's about living in the present moment, because that's all we have. And I tried to capture that in the song, and it came out pretty good. And so I got an email a few years back from a woman that said, "Dave, I'm in California and my mother's been in palliative care for a long time. And she loves your song, United Breaks Guitars." And she said, "I want to know what else that boy's written." So I contacted your mom, and I got a CD from your mom that has your song "Now" on it. And it's become my mom's favorite song. And she said, "Last night we were sitting together and my mother said, 'Put on Dave's music,' like we were old buddies." And she said, "We closed our eyes and listened to the song. And when the song was over, I opened my eyes, but my mother passed away." And she said, "Thank you for the music and for having it there at that most important point, or one of the most important points in her life."
Right.
And that never leaves you, right? Music, the music business can be a cold, cruel, and lonely world. But when you get a message like that, it makes all the time and the effort worth it, when you know that you've written something that matters that much to someone at a truly important time that they want to put that on.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That is very, very powerful. And yeah, and I understand too that, I mean, I love music as well. I'm all about, the positive message. And it's amazing, on how you feel. And sometimes if you're feeling one way, you can put on positive music and it shifts you. It shifts that energy. And again, and just like that moment that you just said, that is a memorable moment in that person's life that, that you left a mark on as well.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So while we're on the topic of music, I just want to bring this up. I know I listened to "When the World Stops Ending," which I loved. That was fantastic, and I saw your video as well. What was the driver behind that? Can you give me just a bit of a backstory on that song?
Yeah, typically I write the songs myself, but in this case, I reached out to my friend Jamie Robinson, who lives not too far from here down the road, but we wrote it over Zoom. And I said, "I've got a title. Let's try and write this song." And the title's "When the World Stops Ending." And it was going to be about the pandemic for sure. And when you're writing a song, or when I'm writing a song, I ask questions about what could lead me to a different line or a verse or a message. And so we were going back and forth of what questions you could ask around that. And we thought, why don't we make the song all about the questions? And so that's what the verses are about. The verses in the song ask the questions: what will life be like? Will we, when we get back on our feet? And will we? And then the chorus gives a sort of a prescribed option to love each other better than we ever have before. And that's my hope for the song, and that's the message anyway. And it came out really good. We wrote it over Zoom in a couple of sessions and recorded it separately. It was mixed separately, so no two people were in the same room in the recording and writing of this, and just three people when we recorded the video, when I was doing the live performance portion in an empty theater here to drive home the point that it's just not the same as it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, it was very well done. It was moving. I was moved by that not only the song but the video and how it was put together. So all the listeners, I would highly suggest going in and taking a look at that. Because
And I should mention that we have a mutual friend, Garrett Maxwell, and his stepson, Josh Parley, did all the video editing for that. And he did a fantastic job. He pulled some stock footage in. He used some of the footage I crowdsourced from friends around the world, and the footage that I got from that theater. And he did a great job. When we talk about storytelling, he told a great story with the video images.
So
Love Josh.
should we give Josh a plug?
Yes.
Okay, so Defiant Astronaut.
Yes.
And Josh has done some work for me as well, which we're going to be releasing in 2 weeks. So I'll watch for that. He is nothing short of amazing, the work
Yep.
that he does.
Yeah. And he's a pleasure to work with. And yeah, when you get personalities in a room, and especially artistic impressions, and you're not even in the same room, and somebody sends you an idea, uh, Jamie and I had opinions on things. This should be held for another half a second. That type of minutia,
Yeah.
and he was great about it. He didn't complain, and he just uh, gave us the bulk of the thing, and allowed us to tweak it with him at the end. So
Yeah, my work experience with him was fantastic. You go back and forth, and you say, well, why don't we just tweak this or tweak that or do this? And he's like, no problem, and it's taken care of, right? He
yeah,
he, he is unbelievably talented.
yep.
So
So everybody needs a Josh Parley.
everybody needs a Josh Parley, the defined astronaut. We're gonna tag him in this one. So,
Okay.
so Dave, what are you doing presently right now to better the pond? And in conjunction with that, and more importantly to me, why are you doing it?
So I'm trying to make use of the time that I have in the pandemic to sharpen the saw and come out stronger than I was before. And so I've been enjoying a lot of time with the family, and nurturing some of the time with the kids that I might have missed. And that's what we talk about in the song as well, right? I appreciate things that I think I've missed when I've been busier. But I mentioned that I believe in compassion a lot, and that compassionate design. So I'm working on that. I think it will end up being a book someday. But I've also written a children's book called Tom the Tomato Plant, and it started as a children's story, but I think it works just fine as a business parable. And the arc of the story is that there's a tomato plant that's smaller than all the other ones, and it doesn't get bought at the plant store until late in the season. But one family gives this plant a shot, and they give him everything he needs to succeed and to grow. And he appreciates that, and with gratitude, he grows these tomatoes. So it's a story about caring and compassion. But as a business thing, it's about leadership and resilience and compassionate leadership. And so I think I'm going to be building that into a workshop that I can take to businesses and organizations that want to make compassion a fundamental core value, so that it becomes a nicer place to work at, and customers get better service, and suppliers get paid in shorter amounts of time maybe, and shareholders make money, and the environment's better off. And that's what I think a contribution I can make to the world. And I'm going to do it with music and speaking and all the things that I do right now. I'm going to integrate into when I come out of this, and create an offering for people to maybe dig into those messages.
And we mentioned too, and we talked earlier about, so you have some music that you kind of have in the bank, and you're saying that people don't buy CDs anymore, which is actually true. But I would assume are you going to continue to record and get that message out there through music, one song at a time, or just whether it's YouTube or Apple or whatever the choice that you go with. That is something that obviously I would assume you're going to keep moving forward with.
Yep. So I say I've got enough music to make a record, but the song we just talked about, When the World Stops Ending, it's on YouTube. It's been there for 6 weeks or so. And there's another song I was commissioned to write for the fallen firefighters of America, and it's part of their annual memorial service for all of the fallen firefighters each year in the US. And that will be part of it. That song's 3 years old. And so I've already been releasing some of the music, I guess, to YouTube, but I'll have a more of a formal release. And think I will focus on certain songs at a time and try and give some energy behind it and see if they resonate with people. And but I'm not sure if I will do a full recording with a album cover shot and all the traditional way, because no one consumes it the same way anymore. But I think there's still power in coming out with a collection of songs,
Right.
just to make it more something to talk about.
Right, absolutely. So a question that just popped in my head, Dave, is you keep talking about compassion, and that's obviously a very strong core value. And I think I'm getting it. That's just who you are as a human being. You're a compassionate person. Where does that stem from?
Trial and error, because so I appreciate the comment that I'm a compassionate person, and I try to be, but I have my bad days like everybody else, plenty of them. And but my goal is to have uh, fewer and fewer bad days. So you got a good day, uh, 10 bad days and another good day. Well, hopefully eventually you have so many good days in a row that the bad days are almost not existent. And uh, that's what I want to aspire to be, because that's when I'm happiest. That's when I feel better. I don't need a vacation to get away from the life that I hate for the other 51 weeks, right? I want to be happy wherever I am. And I find that I'm happiest when I care about other people. And I feel like the purpose of every life and the purpose of every business person should be of service to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Not just because that's what's selling these days, but because that's what sells. That's what people will pay you for and be loyal to you for, and you develop relationships and friendships. And I'm gonna have all that. So I think compassion is the way forward, and it's not an easy thing to do. It's the easy thing is to go to social media and get fired up and take a position, a hard stand like everybody else. And sometimes the hardest thing is to stay in the middle. I like to stay in the middle of everything because I can hear both sides if I'm in the middle.
Yeah.
And then bring other people to me in the middle. I really don't. I'm not at my best when I'm digging in and pushing back against something hard. And I'm a work in progress like everybody else.
Yeah, I think we all are, right? But it's to have that mindset and to have that self awareness, right? When things do start to go bad, is to try to reel yourself back in again, as there was a great tech chair for, I will put a shout out to Tech Canada. Linda Allen Hardesty was a tech chair that I did a speaking engagement for, and she said something to me that just stuck. And she says, "Do the right thing, and then do the next right thing."
Right.
Right.
So you should, a pattern, right? Create a
Yeah.
pattern of right
Right.
things.
So when you look at compassion, is to do the compassionate thing and then do the next compassionate thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think that in turn, is number one, is inspiring for hopefully others to do the same. But it also, I don't think there's resistance. There's never resistance to compassion.
No, that's a funny thing, right? It's free and it's contagious, and so it's hard to dig in and push back against somebody who's not pushing. So yeah.
Exactly. So Dave, what does the future look like? What do you dream about? Can you paint me a picture of your golden pond?
Probably in the next several years. My kids are 11 and 8, so I have a vision of them growing up, being confident and loving themselves, and jumping into things that they're passionate about, that they're happy to do, that are making a positive impact in the world. So I've got my work cut out for me to try and help them along that road. And so to do that, I need to be present. So I'm not looking to go on the road and be a road warrior anymore. But I do enjoy getting out there and sharing messages that I think make the world a better place. So speaking and singing and performing, writing, creating workshops, and scaling them. So understanding now more than ever that there's only one of me, I can't do all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can create a program that has those core values and can be taught in a way that makes the world a better place, and other people can do it and create jobs for other people and have a bigger impact, then that's what I want to do. So I'm thinking ahead towards scaling the ideas I have into a business that can do it.
Mm-hmm. Through this whole pandemic, in my opinion, it's given a lot of people the opportunity to stop, reflect, and really start to reevaluate things. I mean, there's been a lot of the stress along with it. So, do you share that same thought? And what do you see, if that's the case? What do you see coming out the other side of this?
Initially, when we got into the lockdown, I think people were shocked, and they were a little bit afraid, but also they were noticing, and wait a second, I didn't drive 2 hours on the highway today, commute to and from a job. And with that extra time, I didn't come home stressed out, and I actually enjoyed some time with my kids, or I read a book for the first time in a year, that type of stuff. And so
Mm-hmm.
people started to wake up and realize there were those benefits to being having more time for yourself, maybe. And I think as we're moving along, there's a danger that that will be lost as we go back into something that's normal again. And uh, beyond that, I think there's a real danger in the States right now with the divisions that they have there. I think the potential for civil war, and whatever kind of civil war that would look like, is high. And so I'm worried about what that would mean if we're each other's biggest trading partners and they're our closest ally and closest country. I would be worried about that spilling over. So I'm more jazzed than ever to come up with a message that says we have more in common with each other than we don't. Everyone just cool your jets, right? And appreciate our commonalities more than our differences. So I think we're heading for uncertain times, I think, and you can control some and you can't control a lot. But I want to make a difference on the things that I can control and influence people to take a more positive look.
Yeah, and I think that the message that you have, Dave, is more important now than ever, as we're seeing the world change so drastically. And I dream of a world with more love and compassion. And I'm not trying to sound airy, but if you have that, you take so much of that tension away, and the world can be a better place. There doesn't need to be all this, the fighting and the rivalries, and if we just stop for a second and again come from that place of compassion.
Yep. And one thing I noticed just reading history and meeting people that have fought serious wars, the ones who have seen the worst of it always say it wasn't worth it, and they come back changed for the worse, and they say, like, lest we forget, let's not do that again. And that it's not just in all-out hand-to-hand combat war. That's for just in general how we deal with other people. It's not worth it if the damage that fighting each other causes. I think if we could settle into and appreciate the person before us, look to find ourselves in them, and have a basis for something to find in them, and say we have more in common than we don't. Sometimes it's more work, but life's pretty good when you don't have to go down to that extreme to come back and appreciate what you had before you destroyed everything.
Right. Exactly. So, my mission, even with these podcasts, I have Goose here. He's gonna be announced on the 25th. Wait for it. He's actually got a name, but my mission, I have the map behind me, is if by the time that I die, I want that map to be completely scratched off, that we've bettered the pond around the globe. Right. And everybody doing something for somebody else, which does something for somebody else. Right. And eventually that we've made that impact, that we've bettered the entire pond, because we're all in the same habitat. And if we just do one kind thing for somebody else, right, we've made a difference. And that's obviously what you're doing as well. So thank you for bettering the pond, Dave.
Thank you.
So
that's a great idea.
So if if there's anything that you can do better to better the pond, you let me know. Or somewhere else in the world, like, so if you aren't, so we've not bettered the pond in PEI. This is now officially your responsibility to better the pond. You let me know. I'll scratch it off the map. And we're going on with the mission.
We just did a family vacation there last week for 4 days in PEI. So
now, I saw that on Facebook. So did you do something for somebody else while you were there?
We brought, I didn't do it just myself, but we had several campfire sing-alongs at night where there were people that left very grateful for the music, and they didn't know there would be a moonlit open starlit sky bonfire sing-along. And sometimes I find those moments when you're away make the whole vacation. So probably there were other people there that just thought they were going to go to the beach with their kids, and they got to enjoy a sing-along thing at night too. And music makes memories.
I get to scratch that off the map now. You bettered the pond, Dave. You
There you
bettered the
go.
pond. So I really want to thank you so much today for your time. I want to thank you for sharing your story sincerely. I do honestly appreciate and respect your compassion and the work that you're doing to make the world a better place. Where do we go to find you, Dave?
Everything for Dave Carroll is at davecarrollmusic.com. You got to put the music part in. So Dave at davecarrollmusic.com is my email. Dave Carroll Music is the website. So everything is there.
And we find you also on the social platforms. So we obviously are on YouTube. We know that. Facebook, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram. I guess I'm on that. I'm on that too.
Okay, so
all the big ones.
We can find you all over the place.
Yes.
All right. So there you have it, folks. It was a great time here today with Dave Carroll. This is Warren Berry flocking off to take you beyond the pond, to better the pond, because we're better together. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Warren. Appreciate it.